A car dealership barely makes a dime selling you the car. You walk onto the lot, you fall in love with the shiny truck, you spend $40,000, and you assume that's where they got you. The car, it isn't. On that $40,000 truck, the dealer might keep about $2,000 in gross profit. And after the salesman, the lot, and the lights, a lot of that is already gone. The car is bait. The real business is a little glass office you visit after you say yes, and a service bay that quietly plans to bill you for the next 10 years. And here's how insane it gets. Follow this all the way down, and it ends with a business so protected that when one company tried to skip the dealer and sell you a car directly, it got banned in 17 states. A middleman you are not legally allowed to cut out. Stay with me. Start with the car itself, the thing in the window. Here's what nobody tells you. The new car department is where you spend your money, and almost nowhere near where the dealer makes theirs. New cars are about 58% of a dealership's sales, but less than a quarter of its gross profit. The average gross on a new car recently was around $2,000, and that number fell by a third in a single year. That's why a salesman will happily walk you down to invoice. He acts like he's bleeding. He isn't, because of a few things you never see. There's a quiet payment called holdback. The manufacturer secretly pays the dealer back 2 to 3% of the sticker price after the car sells. So even when the dealer sells at cost, it isn't really cost. Add in factory bonuses for hitting volume targets, and the car you thought they lost money on still paid. But that's crumbs. The real money starts the moment you say yes, because now you get walked into the finance office. This little room is the most profitable square footage in the entire building. This is F&I, finance and insurance, and it quietly generates somewhere between a third and half of the whole dealership's profit. Start with the loan. When the dealer arranges your financing, the bank gives them a rate, say 6%. They're allowed to mark it up and hand you 7% and pocket the difference across the whole loan. You think you got approved. You got sold. A margin. And notice how the whole conversation quietly stopped being about price. The second you sit down in that office, everything gets translated into one number, a monthly payment. Stretch the loan from 60 months to 84, and suddenly a pricier car, a marked up rate, and $2,000 of add-ons all melt into just 20 more a month. You stop comparing prices and start comparing payments, which is exactly where they want you. The average new car buyer is now stretched to around $750 a month on a loan pushing 70 months. Drag it out to 84, and yes, the payment shrinks, but you'll quietly hand the lender roughly $5,000 extra in interest for the favor. Then comes the fear menu, the extended warranty, and this is the part that should bother you, because the markup is almost comical. A dealer buys that service contract for maybe $400 to $800 and sells it to you, scared, in a back room for $2,000 to $3,000. That's a markup of 100 to 300% on a single piece of paper. And here's the kicker. Most people never even use it. Surveys find more than half of extended warranty buyers never file a single claim. You're not buying a repair, you're buying a feeling at a fat margin. Then gap insurance, paint protection, tire and wheel, each one a high-margin add-on sold in the 10 minutes when you're exhausted and already emotionally attached to the car. And keep an eye on that second sticker some dealers paste right next to the real one. A market adjustment, a mandatory nitrogen in your tires charge, a documentation fee that can run into the hundreds for printing paperwork a computer made for free. Pure margin, dressed up as an official-looking line item. Add it up, and the finance office pulls in somewhere around $1,500 to $2,500 per car, often more than the car itself made. The guy in the tie who did your paperwork out-earned the entire showroom. So the car gets you in the door. The paperwork pays the rent. But we're not even at the real engine yet. Walk past the showroom, past the finance office, to the back of the building, the service bay. This is the secret that runs the whole industry. Parts and service are only about 13% of a dealership's revenue, but close to half of its gross profit. Read that again. A tiny sliver of the money going in produces half the profit coming out, because the margins back there are brutal. In your favor if you're the dealer. Labor gets billed at $150, sometimes $200 an hour, at a 70% plus gross margin. Parts, 40 to 50. Every oil change, every brake job, every we recommend on the multi-point inspection is near pure profit. And now, the whole thing snaps into focus. The dealership doesn't sell you a car to make money on the car. It sells you a car to capture you, so that for the next 10 years, when something rattles, you drive back to them. The showroom is a customer acquisition machine for the service drive. There's even a number for this. It's called absorption. How much of the dealership's entire overhead the service department alone can cover. A healthy target is 100% or more, meaning a well-run dealer's service bay pays every bill in the building. The rent, the staff, the lights, all by itself, which means every single car sold out front is just gravy. So think about what one customer is actually worth to them. It was never the $2,000 on the car. It's the decade of oil changes, brake jobs, and we'd recommend replacing this behind it. That, the lifetime of visits, is the number the dealer quietly cares about the most. This is the oldest trick in business. Sell one thing near cost to lock in the thing that actually prints money. Razors and blades, printers and ink. A car dealership is a repair shop and a finance company that happens to have cars parked out front. And don't forget the used lot. Used cars now carry more gross profit than new ones. And here's the double dip. That trade-in you handed over for cheap gets reconditioned in their own service bay, marked up on both the parts and the labor, and sold again at a fat margin. The same car makes them money twice. And the trade-in hides something darker. Nearly 1 in 3 cars traded in today is underwater. The owner still owes more than it's worth, on average around $7,000. That debt doesn't disappear. It gets quietly rolled into the next loan, on the next car, buried inside a slightly bigger monthly payment. So the finance office doesn't just sell you a car. Sometimes it refinances your last mistake straight into this one. So, finance goldmine, service goldmine, used car margins, holdback. This should be one of the best businesses on the planet. It's quietly one of the thinnest, because after the giant lot, the huge staff, the glass palace, the advertising, and something called floor plan interest, dealers borrow money just to park that inventory on the lot and pay interest every day a car doesn't sell. A typical dealership keeps a net margin of just 1 to 3%. The average franchise dealership does around $73 million in sales to keep a few million before tax. And that profit just fell about 25% in a year. That floor plan clock is merciless. A lot full of unsold trucks is a lot quietly bleeding interest every single day, which is the whole reason they'll cheerfully hand you the car near cost. They need it gone, and they know they'll make it all back in the little glass office and the service bay anyway. All that finance magic, all that service margin, eaten alive by overhead and interest. So if the margins are this thin, how is this one of the most protected businesses in America? Here's the number I promised you at the start. In every one of the 50 states, there are laws that limit or ban a car maker from selling you a vehicle directly. In about 17, selling direct is flat out banned. Decades ago, dealers went to state governments and got themselves written into law as a mandatory middleman. You, legally, in most of the country, cannot buy a new car from the company that made it. You have to go through a dealer. They didn't just build a business. They built a moat and got the government to fill it. And it is not a small moat. Nearly 17,000 franchise dealers, over $1 trillion a year in sales, more than 1 million people employed, a whole protected layer wedged between you and the factory. And for a long time, that moat held. Until an electric car company showed up that didn't want dealers at all. Because here's where the whole thing turns. Tesla sold cars directly. No franchise, no lot, no finance office, and got sued and banned state by state for it. But the deeper threat isn't the sales model. It's under the hood. An electric car barely needs the service bay. No oil changes, no transmission, no exhaust, no spark plugs, a fraction of the moving parts. Studies put EV upkeep at roughly half the cost of a gas car, several $1,000s less over its life. The single most profitable room in the building, the room that pays for the entire dealership, is the one an EV almost never visits. And it isn't only Tesla. On the used side, companies like Carvana came online, buying and selling cars through a screen. No lot, no showroom, no finance office ambush, and forced dealers to compete on the one thing they hate most, a transparent, upfront price. So, sit with the trap. Direct sales threaten the middleman. Online sellers threaten the used lot. And electric cars threaten the service goldmine that the whole thin margin model quietly depends on. A business protected by 20th century law, built to profit off the 20th century engine, right as all of it is being pulled out from under them at once. So, what does a cornered dealer reach for? The same lever every cornered business runs to. They lean even harder on finance. They push prepaid maintenance plans and care packages, recurring, subscription-flavored revenue. They squeeze the used lot, anything that still prints money while the new car engine sputters. So here's the real lesson. And it's so much bigger than cars. The thing in the window is almost never the thing that makes the money. The car sells the loan. The loan sells the warranty. And the whole shiny showroom exists to feed a repair bay in the back and a middleman the law won't let you skip. So, is a car dealership still worth owning? If you love the business, own it with your eyes open. It's a 1 to 3% machine, propped up by service and protected by law, staring straight at electric cars and direct sales that threaten both. But next time you're on that lot, watch what they're actually selling you. Not the truck, the interest rate, the service contract, the 10 years of oil changes, the paperwork you sign in the little glass room, because the car was never the product. It was just the handshake on everything that came after it.